me. I do not honor him.
Split it! Yes! Hey guys, Chris here, and welcome to another episode of Filmmaker Reacts. Based on last episode, which was Overwatch, you guys really wanted me to check out the episode called Dragons. Now, from what I've seen, it's like a very cool samurai slash like sci-fi kind of like theme, which is like sick, so I'm really pumped about it. As always guys, in part 1 we react to the awesome cinematics, and in part 2 we dive in to have a cool discussion about filmmaking techniques used, as well as much more. So as always guys, let me know what your favorite part or scene was, as well as your recommendations. I have a massive blackboard full of all of you guys' awesome comments, so I'm really pumped to get into each one of the awesome cinematics that you guys requested. Now, today's episode is brought to you guys by Filmora 9. Many of you guys have been asking me in the comment section, what is a good solid program with good features that is also on the budget side to like get started with video editing, getting started on YouTube and creating your own content. So I'm happy to say guys that Filmora 9 is a great place to be. It has a great array of features, whether it is editing, putting transition effects, putting motion elements, putting filters, and much more. Whether it is that you want like the solid basics of video editing, or you even want to do, let's say, like a green screen effect, Filmora 9 has you covered. Now the awesome thing guys is that they offer a free trial, so you can download it, play around and see if it fits your needs. But more than that, they have a great sale going on right now on their website, so it's really worth taking a look. If you want to get into video editing guys and you've been looking for a program, check it out down in the description link below. And with that said, we're ready to fire up YouTube and check the awesome cinematic out. So 1, 2, 3, go. Blood, tobacco again? Lizard. I see what you did there.
Tells of an ancient legend about two great dragon brothers, the dragon of the north wind and the dragon of the south wind. Together, they upheld balance and harmony in the heavens.
Oh, it looks so good, man. Nice.
But the two brothers argued over who could better rule their land. Their quarrel turned to rage, and their violent struggle darkened the skies, until the dragon of the south wind struck down his brother, who fell to earth, shattering the land.
What's that here? Yes.
The dragon of the south wind had triumphed. But as time passed and he realized his solitude,
Aww.
the sweetness of victory turned to ash.
Oh, that's cool. That's so cool.
For years, the bereft dragon's grief threw the world into discord, and he knew only bitterness and sorrow. One day, a stranger called up to the dragon and asked, "O Dragon Lord, why are you so distraught?" The dragon told him, "Seeking power, I killed my brother, but without him, I am lost." The stranger replied, "You have inflicted wounds upon yourself, but now you must heal. Walk the earth on 2 feet as I do. Find value in humanity.
Is he the one that's narrating?
Then you will find peace."
He looks a bit like a Soul Calibur character, actually.
You are not the first assassin sent to kill me.
Ooh.
And you will not be the last.
Oh, that is sick.
You are bold to come to Shimada Castle, the den of your enemies.
This was once my home. Did your masters not tell you who I was?
I know who you are, Hanzo. I know you come here every year on the same day.
What?
You risk so much to honor someone you murdered.
You know nothing of what happened.
Is he the dragon? I don't get it. Oh my god, that is sick. I like him.
I know you tell yourself that your brother disobeyed the clan, and that you have to kill him to maintain order. That it was your duty.
It was my duty and my burden. That does not mean I do not honor him.
Split it. Yes. Let's go.
You think you honor your brother Genji with incense and offerings? Honor resides in one's actions.
You dare to lecture me about honor? You are not worthy to say his name!
Last arrow.
Yuga wagateki wo kurau!
What?
Yuji no kei wo kure!
What?
Only a Shamada can control the dragons. Who are you?
Are you brother? Oh!
Do it then. Kill me.
No. I will not grant you the death you wish for. You still have a purpose in this life, brother.
Yes!
No.
Cannot be.
No. My brother is dead.
What?
Genji.
The dragon knelt upon the ground. For the first time, he was able to clearly see the world around him, and he became human. The stranger revealed himself as his fallen brother. Reunited, the two set out to rebuild what they had once destroyed.
Oh, come on.
What have you become?
I have accepted what I am,
The ghost.
and I have forgiven you. Now you must forgive yourself. The world is changing once again, Hanzo, and it's time to pick a side.
Joy.
Real life is not like the stories our father told us. You were a fool for believing it so.
Perhaps I am a fool to think there is still hope for you, but I do. Think on that, brother.
And the music. Guys.
Overwatch.
Bros. That was sick. You were spot on again. I'm sorry, like, I like the other ones. This one is like on another level. Like, from the story, the visuals, the music. That was sick. I loved it, guys. Oh my god, that was so fun. Many of you guys sometimes think that I'm overreacting, but I don't know. Have you guys like, you know how we like when we grow up, we kind of lose touch with our like kids side? I'm really happy that I just like films and like things like this, the awesome game cinematics, they just like made me become a kid again for like those few scenes that they're just like so epic and amazing. So I know it rubs some of you the wrong way, but I just love it. So I'm so pumped. That was so cool. Let's dive in, guys, and have a discussion about filmmaking techniques and how this is so cool. So starting right up again, we have the disclaimer, we have the logo. Instantly here, if even more than any other cinematic we've looked so far, the music, because it's like Asian inspired from like Japan, samurai and things like that, they just put us directly into the theme of the world. Music, soundtrack of a movie or a film or a cinematic or a fan-made something is extremely important, and when you want to embrace the audience and kind of drop them in your world, the music is gonna go way further than any visual can do in the first 10 seconds. I've done the same thing in God of War Rise of the Sun. I chose the opening song very specifically for this exact reason. Here is just a beautiful example of using music to enroll the audience in. Now we have a very cool Japanese kind of like tapestry, and as it goes around it starts telling us the story.
My family tells of an ancient legend about two great dragon brothers.
Really cool. I really like that because the narrator is telling a story, the story is portrayed as a story would visually as well. That we're not actually watching the real world of the cinematic that takes place, but we actually, with illustration, we're getting told the story as well, which is a really cool way. If you remember, guys, in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, I don't remember which part was, part 1 or part 2, where they described the wand, the cape, and the other, like the ring, they showed an illustration as well. So it was a very cool cinematic with smoke and things like that. But it's a really cool way to grab the audience when you're telling a story to the audience as well.
The dragon of
Which is a story within a story, which is like storyception.
the North Wind.
So they tell us a story and then we open. Again, guys, we've talked about this before. When you're the first scene that an audience would see, it's really cool to give them a wide perspective of where we are. Are we in a forest? God of War, for example, we are in Tokyo, Japan-inspired kind of like world. We can kind of see the Fuji mountain in the back. I would love to go to Japan, by the way. So they establish the world and then they take us down to where our characters are usually are, or up, because maybe plane or Superman. So we have a very nice crane shot, kind of like starting from up and going down to street level. And this is really smart. That was awesome. Now, the impact of revealing a character is very strong. As we're seeing from WoW trailers before, usually you have a very smooth camera movement, and then either the one leg of the character or warrior steps in and the camera pans up and things like that. Here, they actually did it really snappy with the use of sound effects. If you go a step back, the use of a very cool sound effect that goes like whoop, as well as the legs dropping in from above, which tells us, oh, he was in the roofs where the scene started, and as we go down to street level, he goes down with us. Okay, sound. And that's it. And now we reveal the character with a cool mid shot, when you can see kind of like the chest area as well as hair. It's called a mid shot, and we get acquainted with the main character. Very cool bird's eye view. Now, this is a very interesting little scene to break down, and I'll tell you why. What do you think they chose this scene? Kind of like an overhead bird's eye view. They chose this scene because it's the look of how someone that's watching you would look down on you. And as it turns out, as the camera pans and we follow the character, suddenly on the end we have our second character. It's kind of like an Assassin's Creed kind of like look. So that's why this scene was chosen, to reveal the second character, but reveal it in the sense that gives you his perspective over the first character.
But the two brothers argued over who
Some
could
very
be.
cool shots. It's very interesting that they use the real life kind of like cinematic and the what's in frame to transition to the story, because they will do it later with the painting as well.
Argued over who could better rule their land.
Really cool.
The dragon of the Southland.
More story. We get some of the first action here, which is really cool. We've talked before about the rule of 180 in last episode, guys. If you watched it, you can see it here as well. Look at, if you put a line between the from a chest to you and do the same here, we kind of tilt it on one side, right? Like we're on the left side of the character. So the next scene is gonna be from this line between the two, because then we don't get confused as to what is their position in terms of the world. I've explained the 180 rule in last episode, so I'm not gonna go through it here, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Oh, that is just like so cool. I like how fun and light-hearted this series is, because we've looked at some dark things and we're gonna look into some more dark things, but I really enjoyed like Pixar kind of like movies. It just put me in like a peaceful zone, and it's like, oh, it's just, you know, so cute. Ah, sick. That is so cool. You know what this reminds me of? Do you guys remember the movie Wanted, I think, with Angelina Jolie, where they like curve the bullets? It's kind of like the same thing. Now, actually, if I'm not mistaken, you can actually, in real life, curve arrows. I think there was like a famous YouTube video where the guy would like curve the arrows, which is like so sick. You can curve bullets, but this is technically realistic. See again how they use the composition to switch to the composition of the illustrations in terms of the story.
Dragon of the South Wind had
This is beautiful, man. Look at the color schemes. It's vibrant, but at the same time, the vibrancy of its color is like so carefully crafted that it just creates such a pleasing image. And of course, Japan actually does have trees like that, depending on the season, and it's just like gorgeous. And then you have the petals, sick. And this one actually has a very interesting color scheme, because it's actually playing more with purple blues and oranges, and then the other guy is going to actually have like green, yellowish green, which is a color combination you don't usually find. That is so cool. This interior scene, how they transition from outside to inside, is actually extremely famous. You guys have been seeing this in, I can't even tell you, like it's almost in every movie. Like it's a very classic thing to have an object obstructing the viewer's perspective, and as we shift kind of like a tracking shot to the side, we reveal the rest of the image. When you place objects in the front or like closer to the lens that create a parallax of movement, it makes the image a lot more interesting, as well as create a little bit of tension as to what is there. Let's move, you know? Things like that. Very cool. Cut to the next shot.
For years, the bereft dragon's grief threw the world into discord.
Ooh, we haven't seen this kind of transition for quite some time actually, when you just blend the opacity of the two different scenes together and you transition from one to the next. It's it's a bit rarely used, but when it's used, it's to kind of like give the audience the perspective that, like, you know, time kind of blends together, telling a story, or when you like a character will go like up and start telling a story, you can use the opacity fade to transition between the scenes, and it's a far smoother kind of like transition, which is interesting. I haven't seen it for quite some time.
And he knew only bitterness and
See?
sorrow.
And then they do the same to bring us back. It's kind of like a reflection shot, like how you would gradually close your eyes and the image will come to your head. This kind of fading action kind of tries to reflect the same thing.
One day,
This is another one as well, just bringing up the light. We've seen it in previous episodes as well.
called up to the dragon and asked, "Wounds upon yourself. But now, you must heal. Walk the earth on 2 feet as I do. Find value.
You are not the first assassin sent to kill.
His voice is really good. I think I just mentioned while we were watching it. Doesn't it remind you guys from a character from Soul Calibur? I don't know if you guys played. It was pretty cool. But there is a guy that's like a samurai, and like the way his hair falls and like how buffed he is. Like he reminded me of that one.
Kill me,
What was his name?
and you will not be the last.
That is sick. We barely can see a silhouette, and then the lights come in. Oh. And focus how like smooth the sound effect of him coming up is. Like it's so soft, but it's just like the perfect
Will not
like
be the last.
sick. I've tried, and how like he's like a ninja. So even though his sounds are like so nimble and things like that, I've created a concept that's called Paragon. And I've actually tried to make a sci-fi kind of like samurai-inspired sword, like the one here. I just love it, man. It's just like so sick.
You are bold to come to Shimara Castle, the den of your enemy.
Oh, he has 2 swords, but he only used one. I think.
This was once my home.
This is an interesting translation.
Did your masters not tell you who I was?
I know who you are, Hanzo. I know you.
Sick. I love how smooth the action in Blizzard cinematics are. They don't actually do almost any kind of like handheld move.
You come here every year on the same day.
The triple shot.
You risk so much to honor someone you murdered.
You know nothing of what happened.
I love the music, how it ramps up. Again, there's just so many things to talk about that sometimes I get overwhelmed. For example, here we can again see the example of rule of thirds. When you have 2 subjects and you want to put equal kind of like motion to both of them, you segment the section into rule of thirds, 1, 2, 3, and you put each subject in those thirds, basically, 1 on one side, 1 on the other side. When it comes to action, you move the camera a lot because you want to amplify the movement, the momentum of each move. For example, when there's the arrow or where there is the throw of something, you move the camera with that to enhance the audience's perception of action. Oh, sick. That is so Someone is too cool for school. Oh, he used the other one as well. That's so cool.
I know you.
And now we move. This is usual as well. It's way more exciting when you have a fight to transition the environment of where the fight takes place and not keeping it on the same spot. This is something I've struggled with my projects as well. Mostly the fan-made ones, because then I have full creative control, but then budgets come in place. But when you can move the fight between, when the fight segments itself, like you have the initial fight, then you have kind of the downtime, then it spikes up again, it's really cool to transition between environments. Now you don't have to go excessive, but here we move from interior to exterior with the fabulous kind of like background as the sun rises, and it's just like really, really cool.
You tell you.
I mean, for example, Star Wars episode 3, technically, Anakin versus Obi-Wan, how many times they switched between the environment, whether they were fighting in lava or Obi-Wan got the high ground.
That your brother disobeyed the clan, and that you have to kill him to maintain order. That it was your duty.
It was my duty and my burden. That does not.
It's interesting that the sci-fi guy, like the cyborg-looking guy, he never attacks, and this guy attacks all the time. I didn't notice this at first, but the other one is on defense until the last scene.
Not me. I do not honor him.
We need to see this again. Oh my god. Are you serious right now? He flips the sword as well? I did not notice it. Some things you just cannot notice if you don't go frame by frame. Look at how he flips the sword. That is like reverse grip. That is sick. I'm trying to think. Oh my god. That is fantastic. That is just flawless. The composition, the framing, the move, the visual. Oh. And how whoop! That is just spectacular, man. I think you would need to have a 3D program to pull this off in real life. After Effects, maybe you can do something if you had just the animation and it was 2D animation and it was an arrow splitting. Then because you can move the camera based on the timing and have it done the same way, technically you could use a 2D element, but it would be way cooler if you can have a 3D artist create the asset. Sick. Look at the sound. We've seen this again, guys. It's really cool to not only use kind of like mids and close-ups when it comes to the fight, but gives us the full perspective and both characters in frame as they fight. It doesn't need to be for too long, even though, for example, something like John Wick really does an excellent job at giving us just like all the fight in one consecutive shot. But usually you would cut to a wide, then to a mid, and then to extreme situations when something is very pivotal, you would cut to a close-up. And as the final hit hits in this sequence of fight, the music stops with the last one as well.
You think you honor your brother?
A cool perspective, we talked about this again, but it's just cool to kind of remind us. Again, the 180 rule in combination with kind of like looking up the guy that is in the strength position now, looking up to him. When we switch to the other guy, we look down on him over the shoulder of the other guy.
Brother Genji with incense and offerings?
Ooh, his lights went up as well, that's cool.
Honor resides in one's actions. You did.
Actually, the switching between focus points, in this example, when it's kind of like a first-person perspective, is actually used to put us in the shoes of the character as we look at the sword, and then when they switch the focus of the camera to further up, we see the arrow, and it's kind of like a really cool way to like puts us in the shoes of the character as we look and what he looks. That's cool as well.
You dare to lecture me about honor?
This is sick. How he has a tattoo and then the tattoo turns to like his ultimate move or something. Bankai. Sick. Guys, you really need 3D simulation software, something like Cinema 4D or Houdini, to make this kind of like looks in real life. You know what's cool? In the story, the dragon has blue scales and the other dragon has green scales, and it's actually reflected here as well, which is sick.
Only a Shamada can control the dragons. Who are you?
It's all. Sorry about that, guys. It's always really cool to make the audience understand what's going on first, just a few seconds before the character does, because that makes us like, oh, it's his father, it's his brother, and then we just anticipate for the character to understand what we understood. It's always just amplifies the experience, and this effect right here the kind of like force speed jump effect is really cool. So let's go frame by frame. It starts, motion blur, it jumps off. Oh, that is so cool. Bop. This composition, man. And you have the pedals as well. Nice.
Do it then. Kill me.
Kill me.
I will not grant you the death you wish for. You still have a purpose in this life.
When you gradually zoom the camera when a character speaks, it's because it's an extremely important moment, and us zooming in is as if we are approaching and kind of like get entangled to what he's saying. So let's go.
Brother.
Brother. Boom.
No.
It cannot be, boy.
No. My brother.
The music is
dead.
gorgeous. Remember when I talked to you guys about the conversation, kind of like basics when it comes to composing your shots, whether you have the wide first, then the mids, and when you have a pivotal scene or expression or something, you cut to a close-up, and then even to an extreme close-up. So as you see, progressively, the cut to closer and closer. Here, we have a close-up because we can barely see his entire face, and then as the scene progresses, for the next guy, we cut to an extreme close-up to look at the eyes.
Genshi.
Sam?
The dragon knelt upon the ground and reunited.
What have you become?
A shadow of my former
I have
self.
accepted what I am.
Again, see, what in the previous scene, even though he's not in like a point of weakness, here, he has like a normal kind of like line in terms of how we view him, but when we cut to the other guy explaining, they chose to not do the same, but have us look up to him.
Become.
See? That gives us the point that he's right. Like, he's better. He's like...
I have accepted what I am. The world is changing once again, Hanzo. And it's time to pick a side.
He's a bit grumpy.
Real life is not like...
Another example of great composition, rule of thirds. The guy, the face, the expression, and the weapon.
the stories our father told us. You were a fool for believing it so.
Perhaps I am a fool to think there is still hope for you.
That movie is so cool. That is actually kind of like really straightforward to do in real life in After Effects. You will need an asset, which is the smoke transition. A great example would be the final shot of God of War Rise of the Sun, where I flip the thing, which it was inspired from Thanos' snap, and then you basically have two compositions. One, you just shoot a clean plate, which is the environment without you in it. Without stopping the camera, you step in, you do the action, and then with the three elements, which is your clean plate, the plate with yourself, and then the asset, you blend them together, which basically starts with you in the scene. You bring the asset in, and when the asset covers you all, you flip it to the clean plate, and so when the asset is gone, it is done. It's a really cool kind of like transportation effect. Amazing, spectacular work from Blizzard. Definitely one of our best. As always, guys, let me know what you think, what you thought on the episode and things like that. As always, thank you for all your recommendations. We have League of Legends, Final Fantasy, there are like so many, man. Assassin's Creed. I love this series and I love interacting with you guys. So make sure you subscribe for what comes next, and let's just take this to the next level. I'll catch you guys on the next one, and as always, stay awesome and creative.